Welcome to today's explainer. So today we're going to step away from the daily grind for just a minute and tackle something incredibly profound. We're looking at a deep philosophical discussion rooted in an insightful text about human nature. And we're going to explore a question that has literally haunted humanity for centuries. Are our endless modern desires actually the root cause of our constant burnout, our stress, and our sorrow? Okay, let's just dive right into this. The source material we're looking at today argues that loving this transient world a little too much might actually be destroying our peace of mind. It's a heavy thought, right? But it's an absolutely crucial one. We're going to break down the mechanics of ambition and try separating the illusions we chase from the truths that actually fulfill us.
Think about this for a second. Why are we always restless, despite having exactly what we need? I mean, do you ever experience this universal feeling of dissatisfaction? You know, that lingering unease in your daily life, even right after you've achieved a major goal or, say, finally bought that item that's been sitting in your online cart for a month. We totally get it. The dopamine hit fades in about 5 minutes, and suddenly, bam, you're right back to feeling restless. Our source text points out that even when we have shelter, food, security, the whole shebang, we still find ourselves unknowingly sinking our feet into the mud of agony and conflict. We tell ourselves, no, I don't need more. Yet we are constantly chasing the next big thing. Why do we do this? Well, it's a psychological reality that we just can't be completely indifferent to the world around us. We are wired to want things, but the text asks us to pause and identify what exactly we're wanting and why it's making us so exhausted.
And that brings us to the core villain identified by our source. 2 words: unnecessary desire. The text argues that this specific type of unchecked, endless wanting is the exact reason our otherwise sweet lives get dragged straight into the mud of anguish. Now, it's not about wanting to survive, it's about wanting things we simply do not need, and here's the kicker, attaching our entire sense of self-worth to acquiring them. Individuals who form a singular, obsessive relationship with unnecessary ambition find their lives constantly burning. It's just an exhausting way to live. The author points out that our life and death, our different personas, and our distinct character traits are often just shadows cast by these overpowering ambitions. Basically, when we let unnecessary desire take the wheel, we completely lose control of our own happiness.
The text paints this incredibly visceral picture of the cost, warning that the sweet life begins to burn in the fire of sorrow. The author uses this striking imagery of unnecessary desire as a literal, unquenchable fire. When you're constantly chasing unnecessary ambitions, the text notes that genuine, gentle smiles just vanish from your face. You don't see those playful, happy moments anymore. Instead, your life is consumed by this roaring flame of sorrow. It steals away your happiness because you're perpetually focused on the gap between what you currently have and what you think you want. It's a sobering thought, isn't it? To realize that the very ambitions we think are going to bring us joy are actually the fuel for our own sorrow.
Now, before we start thinking all ambition is terrible, the text introduces a really crucial nuance: sattvic desires. It makes it very clear that they are not arguing against the necessary existence of desire itself. Actually, scratch that. It's more about defining necessary desires as sattvic, meaning they are pure, duty-bound, and grounded in purposeful action. Think about the desire to do your job well, to care for your family, or just to fulfill your daily duties. What makes sattvic desire so special is that they are entirely free from the chaotic storms of selfish ambition. When you focus on necessary, duty-bound actions, rather than, building unrealistic castles in the air, human life actually becomes incredibly simple and deeply joyful. There's no hurricane of greed, no earthquake of sudden loss, just steady, peaceful progress.
So, how do you know if you're infected by this curse of ambition? Well, the text describes a few symptoms: building unrealistic daydreams, suffering from an unquenchable thirst, and feeling deep internal turmoil despite your outward success. To paint this picture, the author uses a brilliant analogy. Imagine a greedy dog with a completely full stomach. Even though it's full, it's still drooling greedily over every single piece of food it sees. We do the exact same thing today when we, say, mindlessly doom scroll through our feeds, constantly looking for the next hit of entertainment even though our brains are completely overloaded. People driven by unnecessary desire have a life journey that becomes this winding, jagged path. They're constantly crashing into obstacles because their hearts are burning in the hot flame of unfulfilled, endless thirst. No matter how much they consume, they are literally never satisfied.
To really hit home on the ultimate illusion of sensory pleasures, the author uses a striking and frankly kind of shocking metaphor. Quote, like a dog chewing a dry bone, drinking blood from its own bleeding jaws and thinking it is pleasure. Wow. The author argues that our obsession with worldly, selfish pleasures is exactly like this dog. We bite down so hard on our ambitions that we end up wounding ourselves. We bleed, emotionally, mentally, physically from burnout. And yet because we're tasting something, we trick ourselves into believing we're experiencing pleasure. But in reality, the pleasure is a complete illusion.
We are simply consuming our own life force and calling it happiness.
Which really forces us to pause and ask the question, are our worldly pleasures also such an illusion? Think about your own life for a second. We all know people whose highly curated social media feeds look absolutely perfect, right? Yet behind the filters, they are secretly burning with internal anxiety and unrest. It proves the author's centuries-old point right here in our modern context. The text poses a deep philosophical challenge. Why is there so much hidden turmoil in the lives of those who seemingly have it all? It suggests that sensory pleasure is just a deceptive fantasy. The constant pursuit of more money, more status, more things, might just be us acting like that dog, harming ourselves for a total mirage of happiness. It's a fascinating, if somewhat uncomfortable mirror that the text holds up to our modern society.
So, when we weigh these two paths against each other, the core message really crystallizes. On one side, we have unnecessary desires, which the text associates with restlessness, agony, and a darkness that's basically akin to a pitch-black night. These are the trivial, selfish ambitions that act as a literal curse on human life. On the exact opposite side, we have necessary desires, our pure sattvic duties. When our ambitions are rooted in purity and purpose, they manifest on our faces as peace, contentment, love, and beauty. The text beautifully notes that a life driven by necessary desire is filled with a protective, sweet fragrance. It's a stark contrast. So you have to ask yourself, do you want a life that feels like a chaotic, dark storm, or one that smells sweet and feels deeply secure? To prove that purposeful action is actually the natural order of the universe, the text uses some beautiful examples from nature. It points out that a servant works diligently just to earn their livelihood, a necessary, pure action. Or think about honeybees. They work incredibly hard, tirelessly gathering honey, driven by the pure purpose of their nature, not by some greedy ambition to conquer the whole hive. In fact, the author observes that every single atom in the universe is in constant, unceasing motion just to fulfill its specific purpose. The argument here is just brilliant. If all of nature works hard for a pure purpose without succumbing to selfish, unnecessary ambition, well, shouldn't we do the same? Action and ambition aren't inherently wrong, but they've got to be aligned with a natural, purposeful order rather than our own endless greed.
So what exactly should our ambition be directed toward? The text argues that the true purpose of human life is to be a reflection of divinity. According to this philosophy, we're meant to live a life governed by love, truth, and generosity, constantly striving toward absolute perfection. Every philosophical viewpoint, the author notes, agrees that humanity's ultimate goal is purity and completeness. Therefore, our dreams and desires shouldn't be about hoarding wealth or endlessly chasing those sensory pleasures we talked about. Our desires should be pure. We should dream of perfection. Any ambition outside of achieving this pure, loving perfection is considered, frankly, just unnecessary baggage.
And this leaves us with a lingering, provocative thought for you to take away today. Take a hard look at your own life, your daily habits, and the goals you stress over the most. Is your ambition a blessing or a curse? Are your desires sattvic, bringing you peace, beauty, and pulling you toward love and truth? Or are you caught in the unquenchable fire of unnecessary desire, chasing illusions that leave you internally restless and exhausted? The source material we unpack today makes it clear that the choice is absolutely ours. We can either live a fragrant, purposeful life, or we can curse ourselves with the endless agony of wanting more. Think about that for a second. Evaluate what serves you, and let go of what is secretly destroying you. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer. I hope this structured look at such a deep topic has sparked some serious curiosity for you. Until next time, keep learning and keep questioning.